When we were initially looking at this whole oxy-fuel burning machine operator thing, I have to say, like, my mental image was pretty basic. Someone with a blowtorch, just heating stuff up.
Yeah.
But these sources you send over, it's a whole other level of detail, right?
It's true. It's a role that often flies under the radar, but it's crucial. Think about it, buildings, bridges, all sorts of industries. They rely on the folks shaping and cutting that metal, and that's where these operators come in.
And speaking of detail, let's break down this oxy-fuel cutting itself. I'm seeing terms like kerf, preheat flames. It's getting kind of technical. What's the gist of it all?
Well, it's pretty cool when you get into it. Imagine like this super concentrated, crazy hot jet of flame, but totally under control. That's your oxy-fuel torch in a nutshell.
Okay.
And the kerf, that's just the actual cut, the slit made in the metal. And those preheat flames you mentioned, they're adjusted depending on what you're working with, how thick the metal is, what type it is. It's all about finding that sweet spot between the heat and the oxygen to get a clean, precise cut.
So there's a real art to it then. It's not just blasting away.
Oh, absolutely. A skilled operator, they're like artists with fire. You can get incredibly intricate with the cuts, following specific patterns, creating bevels, where technical precision meets, that craftsman's touch. And from what I'm seeing in these sources, it takes a lot. A keen eye, steady hand, spatial reasoning, all under pressure.
I can definitely see the appeal for someone who's a problem solver, who gets a kick out of that precision work. It's finesse over brute force, right?
Exactly. The sources even talk about the feeling of accomplishment. You finish a complex project, see how all those cuts came together. Knowing you played a crucial part, it's got to be satisfying.
Right. And speaking of what it's like to actually do this job, we've got this career guide here. It's got the upsides and downsides laid out. Seems there's potential, but not without its challenges.
Yeah, for sure. On the plus side, good earning potential, job stability, that's always attractive. But it's demanding work, no doubt. Physically, mentally, you're dealing with heat, sparks, noise. It takes a certain kind of person to thrive in that environment.
Right. It's not for everyone.
Definitely not.
And it's not like this field just standing still, right? I mean, this source we have here, it talks about automation coming in, changing things up, just like we're seeing everywhere else these days.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because it's like this double-edged sword. Like on one hand, yeah, automation could mean fewer entry-level operator jobs down the line.
Right.
But on the flip side, it means anybody who wants to stick around in this field, they got to be learning constantly,
Yeah.
upskilling. It's essential.
So it's not just about knowing the stuff you need today. It's about being ready for whatever tech they throw at you tomorrow.
Exactly. The source even mentions it, oxy-fuel burning machine operators, they could end up programming, even operating those robotic cutting systems in the future.
Wow. Okay. Talk about a shift. So someone's listening to this and they're like, all right, this is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
But how do I even start? What's the path look like career-wise?
Well, this career guide, it's got a pretty clear progression laid out, usually starts with an apprenticeship or maybe an entry-level assistant role.
Okay.
You're learning from the veterans, getting comfy with the equipment, those safety procedures down pat, that kind of thing.
That foundation, right?
Yeah.
Like before you can jam, you got to learn your scales.
Exactly. Then you move up junior operator. More doing the actual work yourself, setting up machines, running them. You got to make those precise cuts, know your metals, how thick, what type, and if something goes wrong, you're on it. Troubleshooting.
More responsibility, higher stakes, for sure.
Yeah,
And I bet this is where certifications start to matter. Yeah. Prove to the bosses you can handle it.
absolutely. The source specifically calls out that oxy-fuel cutting specialist certification. That one shows you've mastered the techniques, the safety stuff, all that.
Okay, so then you're basically a pro. What's next?
Well, then things get really interesting. You're talking senior oxy-fuel burning machine operator, or even lead operator. That's leadership right there.
So it's not just about your own work anymore. You're overseeing things.
Right. At the senior level, you might have a whole team you're managing, training new folks, coming up with the cutting strategies for really complex jobs. It's a whole other ballgame.
The big picture stuff.
Yeah,
Keeping those workflows going, making sure the quality's there. Sounds like the learning never really stops, does it?
it really doesn't. And the certifications reflect that too. You've got your advanced oxy-fuel cutting professional cert. That's big at this stage. And for those moving into management, there's the certified oxy-fuel cutting supervisor certification that shows you can lead and mentor others.
It really shows how, the experience you build up. Plus, if you keep learning and getting those certifications, it opens doors. More opportunity, more responsibility.
That's the ticket. And that actually ties into something else that pops up a few times in these sources, this platform, RoleCatcher.
Oh, right. RoleCatcher. They're like more than just a job board, though, right? What's the deal there?
Yeah.
So RoleCatcher, right, it's not just another job board, is it? What makes it stand out?
Yeah, it's kind of niche, actually. It seems like it's built for these specialized trades, like the oxy-fuel thing we're talking about.
Okay.
Not just connecting people with jobs, but helping them build out their whole profile. So employers see what they can really do, their skills, experience, all that, but tailored for this specific kind of work.
So instead of just sending out the same resume everywhere, you're really targeting it, highlighting what matters most for these oxy-fuel roles.
Right. They've got tools for that, resumes, interview prep, even AI stuff to help your application stand out to the right people.
And for the companies hiring, I bet it's helpful too, finding those qualified candidates.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They've got this whole reverse matching thing going on. The company says what they need specifically, and boom, the platform matches them up with people who fit the bill.
Makes
Exactly. It's like they took that oxy-fuel precision and applied it to job hunting.
Love that analogy.
Right.
Really shows how tech's changing the game everywhere, even hands-on fields like this.
Definitely.
All right, well, before we wrap things up, anything else you're thinking about? Something for our listeners to chew on?
You know, with all this talk about the job itself, the skills, the career path, one thing that stuck with me from these sources was the environmental side of it.
Oh, right.
I mean, you're burning metal. That's got to have an impact, right?
Easy to forget about the bigger picture when you're in the weeds of how it all works.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, how does a field like this become more sustainable, but without losing effectiveness? Are there different ways to cut the metal? Cleaner fuels? Better torch designs? Who knows?
It's a tough balance, progress and responsibility.
For sure. And I bet it's only going to get more important as we go forward.
Lots to think about. Well, huge thanks to you for breaking it all down with us today.
Anytime. Glad to be here.
And to everyone listening, we hope this sparked your curiosity about the whole world of oxy-fuel burning. Those skilled operators out there making it happen. Until next time, catch you on our next deep dive.